Hello, Homestead team. I'm Chaplain Robert Terrell, and this is your November 14th, 2022 Monday Motivator. I don't know what your weekend was like. My weekend was enjoyable, except for making this video. I try to make these videos before Mondays when they go out, but everything that could go wrong just went wrong. Some of those were my mistakes where I did something wrong, and some of those were mistakes that were beyond my control. What I know is I tried multiple times to get this video done, and it failed each time. Failure is a part of life when you're trying things. Failure happens because we're pushing ourselves beyond our abilities or because just things that are beyond our control happen. It's just a part of life. It helps me to think of all the people that I know throughout history that at one time or another were considered failures by others that we now know as huge successes. Albert Einstein was considered mentally slow. Michael Jordan wasn't good enough to make it on his first basketball team. It's just a part of life that people who are trying things fail quite often. So what do you do when you fail? What do you do when you make a mistake? Well, here are a few things that I find helpful personally. First thing is to apologize. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes a mistake just happens and it's not a fault that you have done to somebody else. It's just a mistake. And in those cases, you're not having to apologize. I don't have to apologize to anybody because the battery on my camera went dead. I'm making the video now. It's a little later than normal, but you're still getting the video. But there are times where we let people down, or even worse, where we just completely don't do what we say we're going to do. At those times, it's best to apologize and to admit our fault. Now, pride keeps us from doing that, but humility is one of the attributes of love, the verb, and we want to live that out. Own up when you make that mistake. Claim what is yours there, and apologize. The other thing I like to do is to recognize what is in my control and what is not in my control. The wind outside today was not in my control. There's nothing I can do about that. So I have to work around it, and I can't beat myself up over the fact that it's windy outside and the microphone was not working properly because it was picking up too much wind noise. I can't control that, so why beat myself up over that? But there are other things I can control, and I need to recognize what is it that I can control and what is it that I can't control. Another thing I like to do is to remember that it's not really a problem until it's a problem, and even then, it's usually not that big a problem. In other words, most of our failures are not the end of the world. We make it through it. And we need to recognize that and to celebrate it, that something bad happened, but we made it through it. And that way we can change in the future and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that's the other thing I like to do. When it's something that's in my control, I like to make a plan for how it won't happen again. I work through what failed and what succeeded and figure out how to make sure that it succeeds in the future. Two other things I like to do. The last one is I like to remember that my failure usually happens because I'm pushing myself, and that's a good thing. That failure happens because I'm going a little beyond the limits that I have right now, and that's a way of stretching and growing. And the other thing I like to remember comes from my faith. My faith teaches me that my ultimate value does not come through my successes. It comes through who I belong to. What is it that determines your ultimate value? If you're a person of faith, it's probably your deity. If you're not, there are other things. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's something else. What is it that determines your ultimate value? Because you are much more than merely what you produce. I hope these things help, and I hope that when you fail, you know that you are so much more than your failure. If you need to talk to somebody about this failure, I would love to be that person. You can reach me anytime. My contact information is always at the end of these videos. And if you remember nothing else from this video, please remember this. Our CEO, God, cares for you, and so do I. Have a great week, okay?